So welcome to this episode of the Media Buying Podcast. I'm joined today by Mike Hauptman. I'm horrible. I'm got a habit of butchering people's names. Have I got your name right or wrong?
It's close enough. Mike Hauptman.
Hauptman. There we go. So yeah, again, I have another podcast that I do called Digital Marketing Stories, and every single guest I've had on there, I've butchered virtually every single person's name. So I wanted to keep the tradition going on the Media Buying Podcast, and sometimes that's the thing I'm looking for in a guest is, have they got a name that I can butcher?
I am all for tradition.
And unfortunately, so I was just talking to my co-host, Rob Adler, who normally does these interviews with me, but he has a kind of clash of, he's got another appointment at this particular time. So he sends his apologies and says, we'll have to kind of have you back to do another one where we can grill you together rather than just me on my own. So hopefully that'll be okay.
Yeah, of course. Looking forward to the next one already.
Yeah, me too. So obviously, like you've been involved in media buying for quite some time now. Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get into the industry?
Sure. Started in the digital advertising space back in 2006. Fresh out of college, looking at technical roles at the intersection of technology and business. Found myself at a third-party ad server, which was a part of a large organization, and worked my way up there for a few years. Thought the challenges that were being worked on were really interesting, and there was some really interesting developments happening in the space surrounding moving away from more paper-based and fax-based transactions to the world of programmatic and real-time bidding that we know today. And there were companies that were just starting to create this space, and wound up landing at one of those companies called MediaMath back in 2010 as one of the first 100 employees. Helped to build out organizations there along with my co-founder, Dan, who is the technical side of the house, and he's in London. And while we were there, not to get too far into the story, we learned a lot about programmatic. We learned about how programmatic was being used by large enterprises, how other sectors of the marketing industry were struggling to access and benefit from these same tools.
Yeah, because I think you're mentioning fax machines. I mean, I remember when I first got involved with the programmatic side of things. Like I had an affiliate network which I sold to a company because they were being bought by a kind of a big telecoms company in France. And they needed an additional kind of revenue stream. So they were an ad sales house. So they typically work with big publishers and help to sell the inventory on those big publishers' websites. And again, I was shocked, really. I mean, I sold my affiliate network in 2009. And for the next 12 months, I basically worked in-house at this agency where we were at the ad sales house. And I was stunned at just how inefficient that media buying process was for publishers and advertisers to do everything. I mean, it was all insertion orders or IOs. You had to fax through the kind of the requirements. It would be 1 million impressions at, say, $25 CPM. And then at the end of the kind of the delivery, there would be a kind of report, and they would say, well, we're not very happy with the performance. We might have to do another 500,000 impressions just to try and give them the performance that they wanted. And the two of the guys that were involved with this particular company that I sold my agency to, they were part of the sort of founding team for OpenX, right? Which was, again, one of the sort of the early platforms, I guess, probably in the same time frame around MediaMath for delivering that ability for it to be a more open sort of system where, the ecosystem. I mean, when you look at the Lumascapes now, the kind of the buy side and the sell side should really just sit there, and those should be the only two things that are on there. But it's just become such a kind of messy kind of ecosystem. But for me, I was fascinated by, one, how inefficient the old way of doing things was, but two, how exciting the kind of the programmatic side of things was to capture the ability to try and put some value on what an actual impression might be worth to a particular buyer, right?
Yeah. We've come a long way. It's at some point it feels like we've made a few too many lefts, and we've kind of retraced our steps a little bit. And
why do you think that's happened? Why do you think there's been like a lot of like left steps rather than going straight forward?
shifting dynamics in the market and shifting players and strategies, right? So we had a promise once of programmatic eliminating the need for there to be all these steps in the process from sales all the way through execution. And that did happen, and it still happens, or it's still happening. Most media is purchased programmatically now, and the pipes are no longer an insertion order that gets faxed over and someone's ringing a gong, and the assets are sent by email. Like those are all happening through platforms now. But
Yeah.
with the proliferation of first party data and the value of the data that's to be extracted, and now we're at this point where there's dozens of different DSPs, there's hundreds of retail media networks and other ways of purchasing programmatic media that are again behind emails and phone calls and manual processes to access this inventory. That at one point you could go into a DSP, you can access all the data, you can create a whitelist, but the business strategies and I think the value that different players were adding to the chain has been highlighted, or as the someone else's margin is your opportunity, right?
Yeah, because that was the thing that struck me. Like the advertiser was paying a certain amount of money and the publisher was getting a certain amount of money. And there was all these people in between those two taking their sort of cut of what was there. And some people were very greedy in terms of what they took off the table. And I know it's at the end of the day, everyone has overheads of trying to run a platform and so on. And they need to try and balance their books. And I get it. That makes complete sense. But at the same time, it's got to kind of work for both parties, right? The advertiser and the publisher. If the advertiser doesn't feel like they're getting good value from their buy, then they're not going to come back and do it again. And if the publisher doesn't make enough money from the revenue, enough revenue from the what comes down from the advertiser, then ultimately they're going to end up having to shut down their business because they can't afford to keep the lights on. And it's trying to get that balance right between sort of those two kind of parties and everyone in between, trying to do what they can to add value, right? And I've always said, as long as you're adding value in the ecosystem, then you deserve your seat at the table. And if you're not adding value, you should get out of the way.
I think for far too long, publishers got squeezed and they were seeing diminishing returns, and other companies make a lot of get a lot of too many middlemen involved that were diluting the economics for them. And they've rebuilt, I think, in leaner ways, and you see a lot of sales houses and organizations that are helping outsource. That's really what curation is all about, in terms of making those audiences available and outsourcing that, the sales of those audiences, outsourcing the media buys to a curation house and allowing them to have not control, but the ability to deliver those audiences in your inventory on your behalf. So there's more efficient ways of doing it and besides from just building out the whole sales team internally. I think that's been a big shift in the dynamics as well.
So you started, you kind of like got involved with Media Math, you worked your way up the sort of food chain within the ecosystem at Media Math. When did AdLib start? When did you start that business?
AdLib was incorporated in 2014 as an idea that we could turn the open internet into the next frontier of social media content by allowing users to target their friends and their network with content across the open web in places where you'd normally see ads. Using the same technology, instead of a branded creative, you have a post or an image that I've customized and now I'm putting out there, and my audience that I'm targeting is just my social media network who's opted in, and using the same pixeling and email matching, you can reach those users online. We tinkered with that for a while, struggled to monetize the app as cool as it was, and I still think it's a great idea. Followed the influencer marketing and the creator space, and built a product and an offering for them to amplify their content and get more reach out of the content that they've created. So really extract way more value out of their posts and be able to sell infinite reach, and a lot of opportunity there. But again, we were a bootstrap business and we were trying to follow wherever the opportunity was. And eventually we landed where we are now, which is maybe the third or fourth iteration of the business, really about 2 years ago, after Media Math shut down or paused activity. We like to say this version of the business is about 2 years old. And
Okay.
we now offer a solution to mid-market emerging independent agencies to get the most out of programmatic, because they've been really underserviced for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, I do programmatic advertising through Basis. They're my sort of DSP of choice. And again, the thing I like about Basis is they're really good, both in terms of what they have available for like in their platform, the ability to contact advertisers directly if you need to through their system. They've tried to do the best they can to bring on board your social media stuff, your PPC stuff from Google and Microsoft and TikTok and whatever else, right? So you can get as close as you can to one dashboard of this is what's going on collectively for this particular advertiser. They again, like they partner up with lots of different publishers, lots of different exchanges, and you can mix and match and do whatever you like. But I think the thing I really like about them, probably more so than anything, is they've got really good people, really good training. They provide a lot of support for agencies like mine to be able to provide a service to clients, right, by educating my staff to know what to do, how the platform works and everything else. But it's really, I still find it strange that even though they make that sort of accessible to everyone, right, there are still so many people that call themselves media buyers, like people that run Facebook agencies or Google agencies, they call themselves media buyers. And I keep going, well, I don't really see at what point in time you're in control of anything, right? I mean, on a sort of a media buying platform like a DSP, you're in control of what you buy, where you buy, how you buy, what you spend, what creative you use and everything else. Whereas I think if you look at it now, I mean, Facebook and Google, they're basically saying you have to trust our AI. Our AI is amazing. You have to trust it. We know what we're doing, right? We'll spend your money and we'll deliver results. And if they don't deliver results, there's no penalties to them, right? I mean, there's no punishment for them not delivering on the promise, right? So if you say, I want you to deliver me as many sales as you can, I've got $1,000 a day to spend, and I want you to deliver as many sales as you can at $50 a sale, and they'll come in and they'll spend 3 times as much money and deliver half as much in terms of the CPA will be 4 times as much or 3 times as much. And there's no apology, there's no we'll make good or anything like that. It's just tough luck. And I find that so many people that are doing that are just accepting it. And I mean, for me, I've reduced significantly the amount of money that my clients spend on Facebook now because the performance is just not there. I really hope that they can bring it back, but I'm not holding my breath that they will. So what are your thoughts? I mean, do you do much on the Facebook side of things or social media at all, or is it just primarily through DSPs?
So we just launched the ability to we launched Facebook reporting in the platform. So now clients that are running through Facebook ads, they're expanding a similar model to Centra, right? We've a lot of clients who are scaling out of search, scaling out of social, want to tackle programmatic. It's really hard to access. It's hard to use. I'm now going to create more fragmentation because my data is all over the place. So we offer a single place to access that data, still monitor all your social campaigns, see their performance alongside of programmatic and how they're complementing each other. And we are primarily working with these agencies and these emerging, these independent agencies who are in this growth mode, and they need more tools, and they need a lot of the things that you mentioned, which we're really focusing on, which is empowering them to grow and not just giving them a platform and letting them linger and figure it out, but making sure they know how to use it, making sure they know how to talk to their clients about it and help them sell it through. And we believe it's a new way of approaching it, because what we're not is another platform like Centro or Simplify or Stack Adapt, in that we sit on top of the whole programmatic ecosystem, and we're DSP agnostic. So we
Right.
are not a DSP ourselves. We provide access to the entire programmatic ecosystem, including all the tier one DSPs, to any agency who wants to be able to run programmatic at scale without any barriers and without any blind spots. Because if you talk about CTV especially, a lot of that inventory is only available in very specific platforms. Right? Netflix, you have YouTube is only available in DV360, Amazon Prime is only available in Amazon, Peacock is more exclusive. And even in the display world, in the video world, you have inventory that's able to be had for more efficient economics through the DSP that owns that inventory. Yahoo, right? If you want to be buying finance.yahoo.com, you should probably be buying it on Yahoo. If you're doing first-party data matching and you want to be maximizing the reach of your first-party audiences, well, don't settle for 40%, 50% match rates through your DSP. Use a platform that can push the Yahoo emails to Yahoo, can push the Gmail addresses to Google, push MSN to Xandr, still, or wherever, and maximize your match rates. And you don't have to settle for a platform that I can access and I can use, and it's great, but something's usually left to be desired in terms of reach, in terms of scale, sometimes in terms of inventory quality. And that's all gone away, right? You have the same problem of agencies who historically have had to say no to business because maybe the DSP that they had wasn't great at mobile app installs, right? And you don't want to go learn Moloco and Smodex and Liftoff and that whole world. It's a turnkey entire programmatic ecosystem without leaving anything on the table.
Yeah. So in terms of like your position in the kind of the ecosystem, I mean, you said you work with kind of agencies primarily. Do you also work with in-house people that kind of don't want to necessarily work with agencies?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's in-house programmatic teams, agencies, any programmatic marketer who is in growth mode, right? They're thinking about, how do I build a solution, and how do I make sure that the partner I'm using is future proof? How do I make sure I'm not building against a technology that may go down in the middle of the night, because you see DSPs go away? So with AdLib, we're thinking of ourselves a little bit more like Stripe of programmatic, where it's this single platform, single partner with all these built-in redundancies, the best of everything out there, and I don't have to maintain that myself, versus picking a single solution or picking a point solution, because it's expensive. If I'm an independent agency, I can't license all the DSPs and deal with all those minimums to maybe sell a YouTube campaign, or maybe sell an Amazon Prime campaign, or maybe digital out of home on this specific inventory, which is only available through this one DSP. So we represent just an entire unlock for the entire ecosystem. And then we're also, our whole platform is API first, and it's customizable and it's modular. And we're seeing a lot of excitement about the ability to eliminate all that friction and all that tedium in ad ops that really hold agencies back as well. And just having to say no to business because it's impossible to get things live in an amount of time and in a profitable way for the business, because resources are just too expensive. Zero trafficking headaches to really do all this thing. And it's a white label. So if I want to just get into market with a DSP, I can now do all these things. And the barrier to just getting started in programmatic agency and really scaling, usually historically, I think the model hasn't worked, and we flipped that model.
Yeah. And in terms of, I mean, virtually every conversation I have now, at some point in time, will touch, even if it's dipping a small toe in the pond, but it'll definitely talk in some way, shape, or form about AI and the impact of AI in terms of what's going on in the future and everything else. Where do you see AI fitting in regards to the programmatic side of things, media buying generally? How do you think it figures?
Yeah, certainly a lot of noise about that this week in terms of what Scope 3 and some others released in the ad CDP protocol. And I think that's the moonshot, right? All of programmatic and advertising will eventually move away from ORTP protocols and programmatic protocols that have been like the TCP IP of ad networks for the
Yeah.
past 10, 15, 20 years at this point. I'm not as bullish on that happening anytime soon. I do believe there's a world and there's emerging media and others ways of using agents to make media more efficient. I don't know about a whole redo of the infrastructure. Where we're seeing it as a co-pilot and a force multiplier and
Yeah.
a unfair advantage for companies and second movers and third movers who don't have all this legacy process and legacy systems and legacy organizational structure already in place that they would then have to rip out and replace with more efficient tools and agents.
Yeah, because that was always the thing. I remember when at the turn of the century when Y2K happened, right? And you had all these really, really old, like in the UK, we have high street banks. I'm guessing in the US, it's probably your Merrill Lynch's and Bank of America and so on. And they obviously built on legacy systems from years and years and years ago. Whereas some of the newer types of banking companies were built on an open banking kind of infrastructure. So they didn't have all of that legacy crap to bring forward with them to try and get it all to talk to each other. It was much easier for them to get to where they needed to get to. And I'm sure that the same sort of ecosystem and problem applies to the media buying side of things. I mean, I think when you look at Facebook, I mean, they had the golden egg. They were buying all these third-party audiences from elsewhere and being able to offer them within their platform. And then all of a sudden, it all went away, right? And people were like, oh, this is crazy. I was getting great results. But the reality of it is that if there was still a way for you to find those audiences, right? Because the companies that were providing them to Facebook didn't go away. They just didn't work with Facebook anymore, right? But you could still create your audience over there. Say, I want to find people that are 25 to 34, live in Minnesota, that drive a Hyundai, whatever it might be, right? And then create ads by bringing that audience from there into Facebook yourself, rather than letting Facebook do it and build in their margin. And when I talk to people about that, they go, "You can still do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you can still do that." But the challenge is that in most cases, the route to market to get that, the kind of the barrier to entry is pretty high, right? Because you mentioned there about DSPs having table stakes or minimums, right? Sometimes if you're not prepared to spend a ton of money, then you probably won't be able to get access to those audiences, right? And I think it's like you've got to try and balance everything out.
It's there's never been a better time to start a business than now. You know, I'm thinking about it, right? There's so many ways to use AI, and I was having a conversation about this with a colleague yesterday, and I was like, "What is the opportunity?" And I don't know if it needs to be a specific application, like this killer application of AI. I just think AI in itself and making you faster, making you quicker, making you better is the opportunity. And if I'm someone who's grinds and hustles and I can use ChatGPT to find a lead list, build an email sequence for me, build a website and presence for me, generate social media content for me, and build an audience, and all of a sudden I'm a local regional agency and I'm using a white label DSP, I'm light years ahead of others who are not using these tools, using outdated processes, and I can just start from square one without having the bloat of outsourcing all of those pieces and all the money that you would like. This is, what are we talking about? $100, a couple $100 to do any of that?
Yeah.
Versus thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to even build a website that is professional enough. You can do that in moments now. And we're, as an organization, we're building our own tools on Replit that used to cost, you used to have to outsource if they're non-core to our platform. You hire maybe a dev shop or outsource to a team to build us some automation tools. And now we're just doing that all in-house, right? We're technical enough. We know exactly what we need to build and to move it along. We just are talking and giving those specs to a platform instead of an engineer who's charging $250 or $350 an hour. So we're now moving.
But as you say, everything is kind of like API driven now. And I mean, when you look at, again, I'm really curious and interested. I mean, I was quite slow and I'm kicking myself and not being on it right when it first came out. But the whole thing with AI, I mean, I kept thinking, it's a fad, it'll go. And it really isn't going to go anywhere anytime soon. But there's all these sort of young guys, like probably 19, 20, that are setting up automation agencies, and they're using N8N and Make.com, and they're creating some amazing kind of automations, as you say, for like lead generation, for like B2B. But I think the problem is for people like me, a purist that's been using LinkedIn for forever, right, and worked really hard to build up the audience that I have, right, I get bombarded with all this crap. It's just awful experience, right, because it's been made easy by somebody else to grab my information and send me a thing where it will praise all the work that I've done and blah, blah, blah. But what about this? And can I fill your pipeline full of 10, 15 new leads a day or whatever it is? And again, I keep thinking, like, at the moment, I'm at the point now where I have a great book of business, great clients, love the clients I work with, never have to go and look to find clients. They always find me. And for me, I'm comfortable and very happy to be running a boutique agency that's small, with the agency of record for the clients that we work with. We do all of their media buying for them. But for us, it's not about having like 100 clients and everything else. We're very, very comfortable and happy to be small. And because of that, I wish there was a button I could turn to say, don't hit me up because you're wasting your time. All I do is like report spam, done. That's what I do in terms of how I handle the inbound inquiries that come from AI.
Yeah. And nobody wants 50 new meetings on their calendar a day.
No.
Right? No, nobody wants that. And like any technology that's new, I think there's gonna be a learning curve, and there's gonna be a tolerance curve as well. With great power comes great responsibility. And yeah, there's been a lot of obviously just spam, the AI slop emails that I've gotten. So working, how do you address that? Well, we're not using AI in those ways and thinking of it as just a cheat, like a cheat. It's a force multiplier. Try to use it to look up and try to do faster research, and allow you to make your custom email that you're reaching out to this prospect, because you should really be very personalized. And it's not, hey, I noticed you're in New York. Do you like hot dogs? Like it's going deeper, and it's bringing something to the table that someone knows can only be an email written to them. Can I fill the rest of it?
And I think the thing is, as much as the ecosystem exists, right? And again, don't get me wrong, I love the fact that the programmatic ecosystem exists, right? And that it's much, much easier to get a complex media buy in place than it used to be before. So what that's done for me is it's freed up some of my time to enable me to focus on the relationship building that I do with my clients. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, it's like, I'm going to use as much AI as I can to take the things off my plate that prevent me from being able to spend my time with my clients and with my staff and everything else. That's where I want to kind of like lean into AI, right? I don't want AI to do the work that I'm the best person, or the person that's most logical to do that particular piece of work, right? That's got to be the way things move forward. And I think when you look at it, I mean, I've run businesses of various sizes and shapes for, what are we now, 25 years, right? And to me, it's almost like it's insulting that the barrier to entry for people setting up a business is so low now, right? I mean, literally, as you say, probably $100, right? You can have a very nice looking website, domain, email address, all that sort of stuff. Everything can be set up with less than $100, and you can start bombarding the hell out of unsuspecting business owners, offering them solutions when, in a lot of cases, the kind of the detail of how specifically the challenges that they have as an individual business owner aren't all going to be the same. So every single business owner that is a plumber in Milwaukee they're not all going to be the same size. They're not going to have the same requirements. They're not going to have the same skills. So to have a cookie cutter, this is like the model that works for everything. I just don't think that works for me. And I think there's going to be a period. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be this year, next year, but there's going to be pushback, right, from a lot of advertisers, agencies, clients that just, I don't want to kind of like use AI. I want to move away from it because it's not helping my business in any way.
No, and I need to have control, and I need to make sure that I'm adding value as an agency. I don't try to replace us. Nobody wants to replace agencies. The advertisers don't want to replace agencies. The agencies don't want agencies to go away. And it's this, we think, an opportunity to allow those people to focus more of their time on strategy, more of their time on relationship building, less on pouring through never-ending data sets, looking for anomalies and looking for data spikes and identifying when things are going right and coming up with new tests and always on nights and weekends and crazy holiday outages. Yes, embrace, and we're going to lean into all of those amazing possibilities and allow the agencies to continue to thrive and allow the agencies to continue to be the decision makers and hold that control as to where ultimately brand dollars should be flowing, because it can't just be a black box, and we're embracing that.
Yeah, and I think the thing is that I spent a period of time. I mean, my current agency I've been running since 2012, so what's that, 13 years. And I spent a period of time initially when I first set it up, it was like, I'll work with anyone. And then it soon became really apparent to me there was a type of business that I really liked working with, a type of business I really didn't like working with. So I made a kind of conscious effort to go through the process of defining what my ICP was, right? I wanted to make sure I had an ideal client persona, right? And everything that kind of came through the door, right, from that point forward, I could then benchmark it against that, right? So in other words, like for me, I don't like working with startups. I find them too needy, too entitled, and they've got no right to be entitled. So for me, like startups was a non-starter, right? I used to do a lot of lead generation B2B. I got to the point where I thought, okay, well, I don't want to do that anymore. So I started to do e-commerce, but I chose e-commerce businesses that were running on Shopify, doing between $1 and $5 million a year in sales, looking to grow to between 5 and 50. That was my sweet spot. That didn't mean that I didn't work with people outside of those sort of boundaries, but that gave me the ability, if I wanted to go, sorry, you're not you're not my ICP, so I'm going to pass. If I didn't feel the vibe of when I'm talking to people, whether I felt that they would be a good fit. And I think sometimes it doesn't really matter what they're selling. It's more about what will they be a pain in the ass to me as an agency, as a client, or will they be great? Right. And some of the clients that I've had clients for a long, long time, and they're best friends of mine now. Yeah. I love the clients. They love me. So there's no way that they're ever going to kind of part company with me and I'm going to not part company with them. And that's the way I like it. I prefer those intimate relationships with my clients rather than I've got 50, 100 clients, and sometimes I don't even know what their names are. I'd much rather have that sort of small boutique like intimacy rather than a big sort of, like I said, you don't know the names of the people that you're dealing with. You just send them an invoice, and that's not the way I want to work.
Yes, same here. Learning how to say no took a lot of time, and
yeah,
we were always chasing that next opportunity. And if we could just do this one thing, it's a huge unlock. And then never really those opportunities never came to fruition, and over time have really zeroed in on our core ICP. And it helps us more than anything prioritize our time. And it's okay. We'll still have conversations with clients outside of our core ICP, but we know how much time to be spending on them, how much effort to be chasing. And to be fair, it's also not just for our benefit, it's to their benefit, right? Because there's plenty of organizations out there who are happy to take business and may have a better solution for them. So if we're just trying to build something new or go out of our way to service a client that we may not be best suited for, it's nobody's best interest to go that way. And we think, I personally believe that it's all a long game, right? And if I'm talking to someone and I know we're not the right fit, I'll point them in the right direction and say, when you need this, come back to us. And
Yeah.
that is respected. There's way more benefit in that in the long run for both sides, because they'll remember that. And they'll
Yeah. I mean, I've seen situations where you have people that work with you, right? So people that are members of your staff, right? And they do nothing but bitch about their clients. They bitch about the company. They bitch about, and I always say to them, look, if you don't like it here, then just go, right? You're not doing yourself any favors by sticking around, right? You're really hurting your business and you're hurting yourself, right? And there's no point in doing that, right? Not every client, not every sort of employee that you have is going to be a good fit. You like to think they would be, right? But sometimes it's just not. There's like the chemistry's not there, and it's better to kind of identify and address it as soon as you're able to, rather than keeping it on. I mean, I'm amazed at how many people do stick in a job that they absolutely hate for long periods beyond the point where they should. They should just be like, okay, I admit this is not working for me, and I'm out.
Yeah. Lots of dynamics at play, and tough time to be super picky about roles, but everybody who knows what's going on at home and what they're dealing with, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and just, if people are going to be, allow them to not let that affect me too much in the day to day, and try to keep my center. Just, it's been and I wasn't always that way. I have not always.
So if you were going to go out and say, I'm going to try and attract my ICP, where do you go to find new prospective agencies to work with? How do you find
Oh man, we are doing a little bit of everything, right? There's a lot of tools out there that can help you understand who's using your competitors. There's a lot of tools and a lot of communities out there specific to AdTech and programmatic, where people are talking about challenges. And I've never been shy about being out there. Reddit has a really good community. There's a bunch of different Slack communities, and branding and advertising and being around.
Do you do live events? Do you go to live shows and live events?
I go to conferences, and that's helpful.
Which conferences do you go to? I'm just curious.
Possible in Miami is a good conference where basically everybody's there. I've been to a bunch of the Digiday events historically, and that's great for mid-size agencies. But I've also moved out of founder-led sales over the past years, and my conference attendance has dipped. All the stuff in New York, as far as Programmatic IO, Adweek, the Lumiscape events, and we've been doing a little bit more mobile as well. So MAU was out in Vegas earlier this year. But we're open to other tips on where to find agencies in this change mode, in this kind of growth mode. It's honestly been a challenge. There's a lot of signals that you're able to access from different software providers like G2 and Built With, but we're really
SimilarWeb.
Yeah, SimilarWeb.
Another one,
SimilarWeb, and there's another one I just found that's kind of similar to Built With. But yeah, I mean, have you heard of Bordy?
No, I haven't.
Speaking of AI and Chat GPT, I got a random WhatsApp message a couple of months ago from Bordy telling me that they knew what AdLib was, and they've got clients that they wanted to introduce me to for free. Wow. And I've been chatting with this bot for the past few months, and they're just connecting me with people in their network. And it's some kind of a wrapper on top of Chat GPT that opt-in network of people. It shares what they do, and then it tries to match make them, but it's very natural and it's
Yeah.
very human focused, and came out of nowhere. And I found them on LinkedIn. They've got a ton of followers, and I think a lot of people are using it.
Wow.
So that's an interesting one to check out if you haven't looked at it yet. I don't know how it found me. I don't know how to even sign up for it, but if you go to like Bordy on LinkedIn, you could probably figure out how to opt into
Yeah.
their network.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think for me that there's always somebody will come up with a really innovative way of doing things that's not spammy and not horrible, and I'm all for that, right? I mean, I've got absolutely every admiration for people that can come up with an innovative way of ensuring that people are looking for a certain thing can find that certain thing in an easy way, in the most effective way. I mean, I to go back to conferences. I mean, I go to a lot of conferences. I used to go to a lot of conferences pre-pandemic. I've certainly curtailed them a lot more since then. I've been a bit more thoughtful about return on investment. I mean, I hate using return on investment in respect of conferences, but at the same time, I've got a lot of friends that spend a ton of time speaking at conferences. They travel all over the world speaking at conferences now. And I think the days when you used to be able to go to a conference, stand on stage, tell them how amazing you are and share all your mind-blowing kind of tips and tricks and everything. And then at the end of the conference, there'd be like a queue of people wanting to come and work with your agency, right? Those days are gone, right? What tends to happen now, it's become a much more mature market. So what tends to happen now is that the companies that are looking for the help, right, what they do is they send their team along to get educated, right? So they can go back to the office and kind of implement what they learn from the speakers, right? The speakers are there expecting to get clients. They're not getting clients, right? In most cases, they have to go to the conference at their own expense, right? So they have to pay for a flight, they have to pay for hotels, they have to pay for all the incidentals and everything else, their per diems. And it costs them a lot of money, right? And I think if they stopped at the end of the year and analyzed how much money did I spend on travel, right? Flights, hotels, and so on and so on. How much time did I have away from the business? And evaluate that to what I got in net new clients, they'd probably go, oh, I'm not sure about that. And I've got a friend who runs a big sort of SEO agency, and he's now, instead of going to the SEO conferences, what he does is he wants to focus on maybe legal clients or something like that. So he'll go to all the legal shows. And if you think about it, there's all these legal companies there, their criminal laws and blah, blah, blah. And then there's this guy that's got like an SEO business, and they're like, wow, what's an SEO business? And he's picking up lots and lots of inquiries on that basis, right? Because he's, as I put it, he's yinging when everyone else is yanging, right? And for me, it's just clever
standing out.
that he's done
How
that.
do you stand out?
Yeah.
How do you get that interest? And it's not being another ad tech provider at an ad tech conference.
But it's difficult. I mean, I like going to Affiliate Summit, right? And in most cases, I say I like going to Affiliate Summit. I like going to Vegas when Affiliate Summit is on. I stopped going to the conference itself many years ago, right? I just go to the Chandelier Bar and the Cosmopolitan Hotel, right? And all the friends that I have will come to there, right? That's become like the go-to place for all the networking to happen, right? But I think when you look at it, I enjoy going there because I can meet up with friends. Whereas if I was going to do that, I might say, well, I'm going to go and go to a conference where they're all lawyers or what have you, then I wouldn't know anyone there, right? And it'd be boring in some regards. So it is just trying to get that balance right between going because you want to try and win business versus going because you want to see your friends, right?
People like to do business with their friends.
Yeah.
Right? I like to do business with people that they like, and relationships are important. If you get in person and you build out that relationship first and you're not selling, you're just around, they come to you when they need your solution. And that's a long game, obviously, but those are the most powerful business relationships, and those are the most sustainable ones because they're rooted on trust, and they're rooted on a personal friendship that has the added benefits of making money. And you don't want to work with people that you don't want to talk to and that you don't want to get involved with or you don't trust. So yeah, I mean, that's one way to stand out now also, as people are maybe going to less conferences or really focusing less on relationship building and everyone's remote and not getting on a plane and going to see clients and spending time in FaceTime.
Yeah.
Somebody Will's our head of growth, and he's went out and visited a client, took them out to dinner and took them to a game, and said, the last time a vendor came out and visited me and showed me a good time was probably 10 years ago.
Wow.
It's just changing dynamics.
Yeah, I mean, I try and make a point where possible to go and visit clients, even if they're overseas. I'll go and visit clients as frequently as I'm able to. I mean, if I can go once a year, I'll go once a year, and sometimes I'll spend a couple of days on site with them in their office. We'll go out for lunches, dinners, because, like I said, I consider them friends. So I'm just going and hanging out with friends, and we're shooting the breeze. But at the same time, we're also able to talk about the business and how we can put things in place to future-proof the performance of what we're running for them, right? Because ultimately, we're only as good as the clients we work with, and if the clients are struggling, then we're going to struggle, right? It's important that you try and, again, just have that sort of awareness of the fact that you need to put yourself in a position where you can do that, where you can go and visit them and everything else.
Yeah, it's partnership. And that's how we view it, right? It's all about growth together. And when you really lean in and you show that you're not just a vendor, you're a growth partner, clients just are going to keep coming back.
So if I was a kind of a watcher or a listener of this podcast episode and I wanted to find out a little bit more about AdLib, where would be the best place to go to do that?
GetAdlib.com.
Okay, cool. And all of your contact details will be available in the show notes, like when we're done. Mike, it just remains for me to say thank you so much for being a fantastic guest on the show. Do you have anything else that you want to throw in terms of information before we go?
Thanks, Jim, for having me. This was a great chat. Enjoyed talking about some history and of the platform, talking about history of AdTech, and also a little bit of a glimpse into the future.
Yeah. And like I said, I should have been on with my co-host, Rob. Unfortunately, he couldn't make this. So we'll definitely have you back for a future episode when the two of us can put you through your paces. So again, thank you again for being such a fantastic guest. And for everyone that's watching or listening, this has been the Media Buying Podcast. Make sure you tell all your media buying friends about the show, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Cheers. Nice.
Good. Excellent. Thank you so much for that. That was great.
Oh, yeah. You're very welcome. It was my pleasure. Thanks for the engaging chat. Are you in the UK?
I am in the UK.
Okay, so it's getting late your time. You got a lot of energy for 8:30. Yeah.
8:30 in the evening. You're in New York, aren't you?
I'm in New York. Co-founder Dan's in London, so he's over by you.
Okay.
Most of the team is in London, actually.
Okay.
So
did you get over to the UK at all, or?
It's been a while. I've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I've been.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a little bit locked down for the past couple of years. I owe it to the team to get out there.
Well, make sure when you do get over, make sure you drop me a note, and I'd love to meet up and have a drink.
100%, man. And I won't sell you, but if you ever want to hear more about AdLib and how we think we're different and how we're different than Centro or Basis, or if you have opportunities that you've left on the table, I'm here.
Well, Site Scout. I started with Site Scout, then became Centro, then became Basis, then became Basis Platform, and it's
for a long time, man. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be an or. If you ever need to run Netflix or whatever, just reach out. Happy to help.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite interesting. I was reading somewhere today. I think Netflix are about to do a deal, I think, with Spotify to enable some of the Spotify video podcasts to appear on the Netflix platform. And I'm like, that's quite interesting. I could be a podcaster that has a channel on Netflix. I mean, that'd be cool.
Very, very cool. I mean, well, content and just Twitch and streaming and creators, they're just sitting there talking, and people are consuming that as video content.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, I got to jump to I'm late to another client call.
Yeah.
We'll speak soon. Later.
Okay. Cheers. Thanks again, Mike. Bye for now.